Thank you for taking the time to view the first Gateway Initiative Videos from the Field series, representing Universal Design for Learning, or UDL. According to the National Center on Universal Design for Learning, UDL is a set of principles for curriculum development that gives all individuals equal opportunities to learn. UDL is framed by 3 principles, or guidelines, which promote comprehensive access for a wide range of learners. The guidelines include providing multiple means or opportunities in representation, action and expression, and engagement. The teaching example you're about to view draws attention to all 3 areas throughout the lesson. The example takes place at Tennessee Technological University with undergraduate teaching candidates in a College of Education classroom. The course focuses on teaching reading to at-risk populations. Today's lesson focuses on repeated fluency readings. The video is divided into segments, allowing the viewer an opportunity to preview how UDL principles are effortlessly woven into the course instruction. As you view the video, consider how you already use UDL in your teaching. You may be surprised. Let's begin. The left side of the slide is what the learners see during this lesson. The right side of the slides are the UDL guidelines that are addressed in each lesson segment you will view in a moment. The first area addressed in multiple means of representation. Within multiple means of representation are 2 areas addressed in this lesson segment. The first is providing options for perception, which is met by providing learners with a PowerPoint prior to class. Learners can access the PowerPoint and take notes by whatever means they choose. Providing options for comprehension is the second component, which is met both by providing an opportunity to activate prior knowledge by reviewing past coursework and highlighting big ideas and relationships in the lesson. This is demonstrated by providing learners with a visual of the areas which I, as the instructor, feel are important to focus on as we review. The second UDL guideline of providing multiple means of action and expression are met by providing learners various opportunities to respond while instruction is taking place. Group choral responses are demonstrated, but other responses could be implemented, such as using clickers or other technologies to check for understanding. Also note how I direct the learners back to their notes when reviewing information learned last week. And I provide adequate thinking time for the learners to process both the question and the answer. The third UDL guideline for providing multiple means of engagement is demonstrated by building community through the group responses, as well as increasing mastery of information by consistently revising it over time.
Today we're going to be talking about fluency, and we're going to complete a fluency activity in just a few minutes. But prior to beginning the activity, I want to do a little bit of review. And in the review, I want us to do some choral responding, just like we've been doing in class. So the first thing, hands up in the air, 5 components of reading. Ready? What are they?
Opening awareness, phonics, fluency, comprehension, vocabulary.
All right, let's do it one more time with some excitement. Okay, you all sound like it is Monday morning, which it is, but you ready? Okay.
Phonic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, comprehension.
That's better. Thank you. I want to make sure that we go over those. Why do we go over them every time, every day?
So we remember them.
So we remember them. What are the 2 things you need for learning to occur? Everybody?
Attention and repetition.
Attention and repetition. Do I have your attention?
Yes.
Okay, today's all about some repetition, repeated reading, so we're going to learn more about that. What are the 3 reading levels that we talked about last week? So think about it for just a moment. We're not going to do choral on this. I'm going to just allow you to tell me. Somebody can tell me what are the 3 reading levels. You've got to go back and look. That's a good thing. You have your notes.
This slide provides an opportunity for students to see what they will be doing in the upcoming lesson. By outlining the activity, learners have an opportunity to comprehend and improve planning for what is about to take place, which meets both multiple means of representation as well as action and expression. It also helps to improve progress toward a goal, the goal being able to persist to the end of the lesson, and perhaps a means for learners to self-regulate, knowing what is first, second, third, etc., which also helps them persist through a task. For some learners, outlining what will take place also allows them to focus, which may help with motivation without becoming anxious by centering on the unknown.
Today we're going to go through a series of activities. We're going to start with reviewing the common fluency errors. We actually had somebody review that a few minutes ago, but we're going to be reviewing it again in this lesson. We're going to watch repeated readings intervention, and we're going to participate in a repeated readings activity, and then we're going to take a moment to reflect. So we'll go ahead and get started. Does anyone have any questions about what we're doing today? Why do you think I let you know what we're doing?
So we know what to expect.
You know what to expect. And that's important because for some students, knowing what to expect takes away some anxiety. Very good.
This slide provides opportunities for me to clarify vocabulary and the structure of fluency errors during reading. It also provides an opportunity to activate background knowledge and to add to their knowledge prior to watching a video where a teacher uses repeated readings with a young student. UDL components are met through multiple means of representation.
Okay, so I'm just going to put these all up here since we've already kind of talked about them this morning, except that I added one because I reread this weekend and thought, you know, it really doesn't say inappropriate prosody. We talked about what prosody was, but we really didn't have that in here with reading errors. And so when we look over all of the common fluency errors, which one, just out of curiosity, which one do you think is the most common?
Word by word reading.
Word by word reading, that is really common. That is a common one. And what does that sound like if somebody's reading word by word? Like a robot. Which reminds me of the article that some of you read, Read a Robot. Oh, is that what it was? Okay. All right, anyone else have a guess?
Maybe poor pronunciation.
Poor pronunciation. Really, the one that always comes to my mind is the word-by-word reading, but also just not knowing the words. Not skipping them, but coming to them and stopping. So I don't think that that's really listed up there, where they just stop reading. And if they've stopped for 3 to 5 seconds, what should we do? Say the word. Depending on what we're doing, what the purpose of the reading is. For fluency, we tell them what the word is, because we're looking at the speed of the reading and the accuracy, but we're not going to stay and teach a lesson during the fluency readings. We're going to do that after the fluency readings. Any questions thus far?
This lesson segment that follows includes quite a few of the UDL guidelines. Within the UDL guideline of representation, multimedia is used to view an example of a repeated reading. Prior to watching the video, I explain the purpose of timed readings. This is an area we have discussed previously, which activates prior knowledge as well as clarifies acronyms of fluency timings. Within the action and expression guideline, I provide students with specific areas which to focus during the video, thus supporting their thinking, attention, and planning. I also point out they can use their computers to view the questions while watching the video on the screen in front of the room. Providing the reason to view the video enhances the post-discussion. Prior to beginning the video, and after going over what I want the learners to look for, I once again ask the learners to tell me what they are supposed to look for in the video. Again, This helps them to manage information and support their learning, thereby placing the responsibility on the learners for their own learning. Within the engagement guideline, learners discuss their observations of the evidence between peers, which allows them to hear answers over and over, enhancing long-term memory, as well as listening to various ways of communicating the same information they just shared, which is mastery-oriented feedback. By providing learners with the questions and an opportunity to discuss the information, learners practice self-regulation through knowing what to look for, what to discuss, and what to share. You will also view a segment explaining how to complete 1-minute fluency readings with their partners, as well as the students completing the fluency readings.
Okay, so what we're going to do here in just a minute is watch a video on repeated readings, and it's a gentleman working with a young fella. And I wanted to point out some things prior to watching the video, that there's 2 different reasons that we may want to use for fluency readings within a classroom. And the first one listed there is words per minute. When we're completing a fluency reading for words per minute, we're not counting errors against a child. We're just wanting the child to read with speed. Now, sometimes we do that. I don't particularly like that way, but you will come across some text, some fluency texts within the classroom that will focus on just the speed of reading. The other one is words correct per minute, which is now we're looking at kind of like what you guys are doing with your, what's that reading called that you guys are doing with the students?
The running record.
The running record, except you're not timing, but you're looking at the errors and you're noting errors as you're going along, okay? In this video, there's a couple of things I want you watching for. So you're going to look for, what was the purpose of this fluency reading? Was it words per minute, or was it for words correct per minute? What was the teacher doing while the student was reading, and what type of feedback was given? Now, I believe you have on your computers this PowerPoint, is that correct? So you'll be able to have these questions up on your computer while I'm showing the video, so that you'll be thinking as you're watching, these are the things that Dr. Graves said I need to be looking for. Another one is, how many times did the student read the passage? And why repeat the readings this many times? Also, I want you to look for, was the student motivated during the intervention? And what evidence supports your answer? So you've got to be thinking, and you've got to use observation to be able to tell me the answer to that particular question. Okay, is everybody ready? Any questions? What are you looking for?
The purpose of the readings.
The purpose?
What's the teacher doing?
What's the teacher doing?
What was the feedback given?
What was the feedback given, or the type of feedback?
How many times the student read the passage?
How many times the student read the passage?
Why is it important to repeat the reading?
Why is it important to repeat the reading?
Was the student motivated?
Was the student motivated, and
Is there evidence back it up?
what evidence do you have to support that? Have you heard that phrase before? What evidence do you have to support that? Yeah, I think you have. Okay, what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to divide you up with your partner. Okay, in the back, and the 3 in the back, I want you guys to discuss this first set of questions, the first bullet. Okay, you two discuss the second bullet, third bullet, first bullet, second bullet, third bullet, second bullet. Okay, go ahead and discuss it. I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to discuss your answers.
The teacher was pointing at words, was reading, so he was keeping track. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I like her, like, the feedback, the teacher.
you talk about feelings, like you don't know
You can tell chatter is starting to quiet down, so does that mean everyone's ready? Okay, didn't even need 2 minutes to discuss this. Okay, somebody from the first group, what was the purpose of the fluency reading? Which one of these? Was it words per minute or words correct per minute?
Words correct.
And how do we know that?
Because he took the errors off the total amount that he read. So if
Okay.
he had 81, or 82, he had 81.
So he was noting errors, and where was he noting them?
His paper.
On his sheet, okay? What was the teacher doing while the student was reading?
He was also following along.
Did you notice at any point what his mouth was doing?
Assumed
He was reading the words. He was mouthing the words at the same time the student was reading along. Okay? And what type of feedback was given?
It was positive feedback, but it was almost like constructive criticism as well, because he would point out like the words that the student got wrong, but he would like say you only got like that many wrong.
Okay, he was definitely positive. I mean, he was high-fiving and all that other stuff. And excited because he was off the chart at one point. And we call that corrective feedback, when he's going ahead and correcting what the student had read inappropriately, so that on the second and the third reading, he would not make those same errors. Okay. Anybody have any questions or want to add anything to that part? Okay, so what we're going to be doing in just a minute is completing 1 minute fluency timing. And you've got a partner that you're sitting with, the person next to you. So this is what we're going to be doing. I've already put the materials on your table, and you don't pick those up until I tell you to. But one person is going to start being the reader. The reader is going to read the colored sheet of the parts that you pick up, and I'll explain that in just a minute. We're going to call that person the reader for obvious reasons. Okay, and then the reader is going to read from that colored sheet, while one keeps track of the reader's reading, and we're going to call that person the Why do we need to have a term for reader and data collector? So you know what role that you have in your group. Very good. Okay, so everybody got their sheets? Okay, I've got a timer. I'm going to count down, and when I get to go, you start reading. Make sure everyone knows what they're supposed to do. All right. 3, 2, 1. Stop. Draw a bracket after the last word read. Now you're going to have to count the words read. So you as the data collector and the reader are going to count the words. So now we're going to take a moment with a partner, with your partner that you're sitting with. I want you to discuss one thing, just one, about reading fluency that you have learned, and one that is still confusing. We're using the think, pair, share model.
Something that I learned was that, I don't know why I was very focused on your really like caught up in what I don't comprehension will come later, not so they're not like
30 more seconds.
As long as it's
15 seconds. All right, so what is one thing that you learned about repeated readings or fluency today? Yes, ma'am.
Well, how graphing can increase a student's motivation.
Okay, graphing, being able to document your own growth can help motivate a student. On this side, what did somebody learn?
It's not about like you have to understand what you read, but it's about words correct per minute.
Okay, it's not necessarily, we're not looking at the comprehension because we're looking at the words getting into the brain over and over and over and over for that automaticity, which ultimately will help with comprehension. What's something that's still a bit confusing? We'll start on this side, one thing.
Well, what I thought was confusing, because I thought fluency was, we're like working on comprehension, but then she said, I'll let you go ahead.
But it's leading you up to comprehension, and like you said, using the cognitive processes to access that long-term memory.
Working
Okay.
memory.
Working memory.
Oh, that's really good, bringing in the cognitive memory and the working memory so that we have that automaticity that comes with the words that leads down the road to comprehension. I like that. Okay, on this side, something that was confusing.
Well, Lupe said, like, because she just asked you about the comprehension portion of it, and I guess it kind of goes with what Tammy said, but I, like, gave the example of the hands, because we're doing on our hands, and so, like, right here, we're on fluency, and comprehension is over here, like, we're leading up to it, kind of like she said.
Oh, I like that. Boy, that's smart thinking. So when I say put your hands up in the air, we start right here with
Phonics, fluency, vocabulary, comprehension.
so we're not quite there yet. Okay, so these things all lead to comprehension. That was really good. Nice thinking. Okay, the last thing we're going to do is making connections. So I want you to think about, which you kind of just did this, but let's go beyond that. How does phonemic awareness and phonics instruction impact fluency? So in your group, in your Think, Pair, Share group, I want you to discuss for 2 minutes how knowing phonemic awareness or understanding it and understanding phonics impacts fluency. Go ahead.
All 3 UDL guidelines are addressed in the closing of the lesson. Within representation, we review and reflect to allow the learners to generalize information with the goal of enhancing comprehension and long-term memory. By orally explaining what they've learned, the learners are building professional communication skills that will become part of their professional discourse. Within engagement, the learners choose what they will discuss in small groups, which promotes a safe environment for them to share and also builds community within the classroom. In addition, the Think, Pair, Share discussion allows me to listen in for any confusion or points that need to be clarified. Using the small group discussion as a formative assessment not only helps me, but can also be used as a self-assessment for the learner.
Tell me something that, one thing that you learned beyond what we've already talked about today, this side, and then I'm going to come to that side. One thing.
You gotta be quick at mental math.
You gotta, okay, you have to be quick at mental math because she was trying to do the math calculation in her head. For the fluency, what do you think I said to her? Write it down. Because when you're talking about a kid, you don't want to mess up thinking about it in your head. It needs to be on paper so that you're doing your math correct. To make sure you have those numbers right. Okay, what's something else? Bam! You didn't learn anything else today?
I mean, I just think that I thought that I was above being able to graph and that I wouldn't motivate me. But then once I saw it, I went like 30 words above.
Okay.
So, I mean, I thought I was above that. That would be something I learned, but I'm not.
You thought you were above graphing for motivation, but when it was on paper, you were like, yeah, I'm into this.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. You all did a really good job with this today. All right.
In closing, Universal Design for Learning, or UDL, provides access to learning for all individuals within a diverse learning community. The UDL framework allows instructors to design coursework by providing multiple avenues for learners regarding how information is presented, how learners engage with that information, and how learners express knowledge gained. Now that you've had an opportunity to view UDL in action, take a moment to reflect on the practices you already use in teaching your courses. Were there strategies previewed that could enhance your learning community? For more information on UDL, go to the National Center for Universal Design for Learning at udlcenter.org or contact Dr. Laura Graves at lgraves@tentech.edu.